Imagine this: a man finds a woman who awakens something deep inside him. At first, he feels in control, sure of himself. But then something unexpected happens. That woman does not beg, does not cling, does not try to hold on to him at all costs. On the contrary, she lets him go. And it is at that precise moment when a primitive instinct, hidden in the deepest reaches of the male unconscious, awakens like a fire that cannot be extinguished. Carl Jung, one of the greatest scholars of the human psyche, taught us that true love is born not of possession but of mystery and freedom. When a man realizes that a woman is not desperate to have him, he feels something rare in these times: genuine desire. This is not a cheap seduction trick, but a direct reflection of the collective unconscious, where the archetypes of the search and the sense of belonging manifest themselves in an irresistible way. Before continuing, think, how many times have you seen a man become obsessed with a woman who seemed distant, almost unattainable? Does this happen by chance, or is there something much deeper behind this phenomenon? What Jung revealed about archetypes can explain exactly why men fall more deeply in love with women who let them go. And what you will discover next can completely change your perception of relationships. Have you ever stopped to think that often the real secret to making a man fall deeply in love with you is not to win him over, but to allow him to fall in love with you on his own? It may seem contradictory at first glance. After all, everything inside us pushes us to do the opposite, to insist, to show interest, to prove our worth. But here's the big question: that need for control may be precisely what prevents true connection. The human mind operates on the basis of symbols, archetypes, and unconscious patterns, and when we try to force love, we are actually blocking its natural manifestation. Jung teaches us that true love cannot be imposed because it arises from the unconscious and is strengthened when there is space for projection and idealization. When you allow a man to feel your absence, to have the space necessary to project his desire, his mind begins to fill that void with deep meanings. And it is exactly this phenomenon that creates a connection that goes beyond the superficial. When you try to control the process by sending insistent messages or trying to prove your worth, you interrupt this essential psychological mechanism. Instead of giving space for idealization, you become predictable. And the predictable loses its mystery, it loses its magic. True attraction is not born of pursuit, but of the presence of a powerful archetype, that of the woman who knows who she is and has no need for external validation. Men do not fall in love with women who pursue them. They fall in love with those who have their own center, an unshakable energy. This is not a game, not an artificial strategy, but a deep understanding of the human psyche. When you become the source of your own value, your energy changes. And believe me, men feel that change even if they can't explain it. They are attracted, almost genetically, to that which they cannot completely possess, because it is precisely that sense of mystery and fulfillment that awakens in them the desire to connect deeply. Jung claimed that within each of us there are unconscious forces that shape our desires and decisions. A man does not fall in love with someone who throws herself at his feet, but with someone whose presence activates something inside him, something he feels he needs to discover. That's why letting go is not an act of loss, but a movement of power. When you release the need to control the other and focus on your own growth, you become an unforgettable presence. True love is born in freedom, not independence. When you demonstrate security and tranquility, something powerful happens in the psyche of the other. You transmit a silent but irresistible message that you do not need to control, retain, or manipulate anything. And this is precisely the kind of energy that awakens genuine desire. Jung taught us that the human unconscious operates through deep symbols and patterns. When a person feels that they are not being forced into something, their mind opens up to explore, to desire, to feel. Freedom creates the space for true feeling to grow. The great secret of attraction lies in the mystery. Making space generates curiosity. When a man does not feel the pressure of having to decide something immediately, his unconscious begins to work in favor of connection. He begins to reflect, to feel the absence, to realize what really matters to him. This forced absence of control does not drive him away, on the contrary, it allows him to build a deeper image of you. Instead of trying to shape his perception with insistent words or actions, you allow your presence to become something natural, something truly valuable. Jung compared the process of psychic development to a path of individuation, where each person must travel their own journey. In relationships, this principle is essential. When you try to hold on to someone too tightly, you often generate the opposite effect, distancing. Just like a butterfly that flees at the slightest sudden movement, a man feels repelled when he perceives that he is being pressured. But when there is an atmosphere of freedom and trust, he approaches of his own free will. Deep down, every human being wants to feel that their choice was genuine. When a man is really interested, there is no need to insist or pursue. The signs are always there, you just have to observe the actions and not just the words. Genuine desire is not revealed in empty promises, but in the consistency of interest, in the spontaneous effort to be present, and in the way he shows that your presence matters. True interest is manifested in the details. An emotionally involved man remembers the little things, notices nuances in you that others would ignore, wants to know if you arrived safely, remembers that seemingly insignificant story you told days ago. He does it not because he has to, but because he wants to, because at the deepest level of his unconscious he has already perceived something strange. Your presence is not an obligation, but a privilege. In the end, true feelings are revealed not in what is said, but in what is done. And when you understand this, you realize that the power of attraction is not about running after someone, but about becoming someone worth choosing day after day. The human psyche is revealed not only in what we say, but in what we feel and transmit. Therefore, beyond observing a person's actions, it is essential to pay attention to how you feel around them. True love is manifested through care, constancy, and a genuine desire to be present. And that desire is not born out of obligation, but out of the deep connection between two essences that meet. Jung teaches us that the basis of any authentic relationship is not what we try to force, but what is organically constructed when there is genuine harmony. Natural magnetism does not come from the tireless search for perfection, but from the acceptance of who you really are. It's not about impeccable clothes or carefully rehearsed lines, but about the energy you exude. When a man meets a woman who is comfortable with herself, who has her own identity and is not afraid to express her authenticity, he feels something rare, a presence that does not seek approval, but simply is. This activates a powerful archetype within him, the desire to be close not out of necessity, but by choice. That's why the first step in building this magnetic presence is to strengthen your self-esteem. Ask yourself, what makes you unique? What do you love about yourself? Instead of comparing yourself to others or trying to fit into external standards, turn your attention to what makes you special. When you reconnect with yourself and stop looking for external validation, something incredible happens, your energy changes. This change cannot be faked or forced, because it comes from within. And believe me, it is instantly perceived by the subconscious of others. Jung claimed that the energy we emit attracts that which is in tune with it. When you align your vibration with the kind of relationship you want, you unconsciously create a powerful field of attraction. Instead of waiting for someone to fill a void, you become someone who is already complete. And it is precisely this that attracts genuine connections. Subtlety also plays an essential role. The mystery is not about hiding who you are, but about allowing the other person to want to discover you. If you take control, you never give them the opportunity to show interest. The space for curiosity is what keeps the flame of attraction alive. And finally, the greatest force of attraction is not in what you plan to say, but in the way you live in the moment. The most intense connection arises when you are present, listening, laughing, giving yourself over to the interaction without the anxiety of wanting to impress. When you let go of the fear of being judged and simply allow yourself to be there, something magical happens. You become magnetic, because true charm is not about being perfect, but about being real. True seduction is not about manipulation, control, or psychological games. On the contrary, it is born of an authentic energy that naturally resonates with the collective unconscious. Jung teaches us that everything we attract into our lives is, in some way, a reflection of who we are inside. This means that when you are aligned with yourself, secure and at peace with your own essence, attraction happens effortlessly. Real magnetism arises from the balance between making yourself present and giving space, allowing desire to manifest itself spontaneously and organically. The women who become unforgettable do not have a hidden secret or possess forbidden knowledge. What sets them apart from others is not a trick, but a simple truth: they know who they are and are not afraid to express it to the world. They do not beg for approval, they do not dramatize to receive attention, and above all, they do not live in terror of the possibility of losing someone. Jung said that individuation, the process by which a person becomes their full self, is the key to living authentic relationships. Unforgettable women do not depend on external acceptance because they have already accepted themselves. The secret of this magnetic presence begins with self-care, not only in the physical sense, but also in emotional and mental growth. These women understand that to attract something extraordinary, they must become the best version of themselves. This does not mean perfection, but a commitment to their own evolution. When you invest in your mind, in your inner peace and in your well-being, your energy changes. And as Jung teaches us, everything in the unconscious manifests itself in the external world. In other words, what you feel about yourself is directly reflected in the way others perceive you. Another essential factor is self-confidence. Unforgettable women are not concerned with proving something to others because they already understand their own sufficiency. This deep confidence means they do not need to seek external validation to feel complete. They do not cling to relationships for fear of being alone because they know that true love is not born of the fear of loss but of freedom of choice. They don't try to hold on to someone who wants to leave, because they understand that what is genuine stays of its own free will. In the end, the greatest power of attraction comes not from effort, but from naturalness. Desire is born in freedom, in the space for the other to choose and feel for themselves. This is something that the human unconscious understands instinctively. When you stop trying to be what you think others want and simply allow yourself to be who you really are, you become magnetic. The difference between someone ordinary and someone unforgettable is not something that can be learned from books on seduction, but in the courage to live your own truth. The women who leave a deep impression on a man's mind do not do it with grandiose gestures or rehearsed words, but with the way they make him feel. They do not force intimacy, but they are not afraid of it either. Jung teaches us that real connection happens when there is space for authenticity and surrender at the right moment. Pressuring a relationship or acting out of anxiety only creates unconscious barriers that push the other person away. True magic happens when there is fluidity, when the exchange happens without the need for control. This is not a strategy, it is a deep understanding of the human psyche. The difference between someone who is unforgettable and someone who is only temporary lies in authenticity. It is not about trying to put on pressure, following rules, or applying formulas. It is simply about being. When you understand this, everything changes. You stop seeking acceptance and start attracting people who truly value your essence. This happens because the human psyche detects what is real and rejects what is artificial. Jung showed us that when someone lives in alignment with their own truth, their presence becomes magnetic. What really attracts is not the need to be loved, but the security of knowing that the right love will come. And that is the greatest secret. Unforgettable women don't try to be unforgettable, they simply are. They don't seek attention, they don't seek to validate their existence through another. They live so authentically that they become impossible to ignore. That's why giving up a man when it's necessary can be one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. This does not mean surrendering to love, but creating space for something that is truly aligned with what you deserve. Retaining someone against their will, insisting on something that does not flow, only generates resistance and weakens your own energy. Jung claimed that true transformation happens when we detach from the illusion of control and direct our attention to the only territory we can really change, ourselves. When you let go of what no longer serves you, something incredible happens. You regain your power, your energy is transformed. And that's when the true power of attraction comes into play. The more you insist on something that is out of balance, the more you prolong the suffering. But when you accept reality, something inside you is set free. And that liberation creates a powerful effect. Your vibration changes, and your very presence begins to attract that which is in tune with your true worth. So look inside and ask yourself, does this relationship reflect what I really want and deserve? If the answer is not an absolute yes, then maybe it's time to let go, trust and allow the natural flow of life to bring something that is truly up to your standards. In the end, true conquest is not about keeping someone by your side at any cost, but about becoming someone who, simply by being who they are, is never forgotten. We are often so focused on making a relationship work that we forget to ask ourselves if it really makes us happy. Jung teaches us that the human psyche seeks, above all else, individuation, the path to wholeness. When we cling to someone who does not value us, we are deviating from that path, trying to fill a void that in reality can only be filled from within. The real question we should be asking ourselves is not, how can I make them stay, but, does this relationship reflect what I really want and deserve? The next step is not to try to fix or change the other person, but to redirect your attention towards yourself. Every time you exhaust yourself trying to mold someone to fit into your life, you distance yourself from your own power. Jung said that everything we deny in ourselves ends up controlling us. Invest in yourself. Take care of your emotional, physical, and mental health. Reconnect with your dreams, with what really makes sense to you. The more you strengthen yourself internally, the more your energy field changes. And here is the deepest secret: when you let someone go with love, without resentment or despair, you not only free that person, but you also free yourself. This has a powerful impact not only on your own psyche, but also on the way the other person perceives you. Suddenly, you are no longer someone who needs validation and you become someone who radiates maturity, strength and self-confidence. And those are precisely the most magnetic qualities there are. Often it is this act of letting go that makes the other person see your true value. However, letting go is not just about the other person. It is about trusting the process of life. Jung taught us that there is a natural movement in the human psyche that always seeks balance. This means that what is truly yours will never have to be forced. True love is not born of the fear of loss, but of the certainty that what is aligned with your essence will always find its way to you. When you let go of what is not genuine, you make room for something much deeper, either with that person or with someone who is really ready to offer what you deserve. In the end, it all comes down to a choice. You can keep trying to control what is beyond your reach, or you can take on the power that is already within you. What you are looking for is also looking for you. And when you work on your energy, your self-confidence, and your courage, the universe responds. It brings you the right people, the real connections and the relationships that reflect the love you cultivate for yourself. Be that woman who is not afraid to let go because she knows that what is real is never lost. Be that woman who leaves a deep mark not because she tries to impress, but because she lives her truth without fear. Love does not need to be pursued, it is already within you, waiting to be shared. Trust your path, trust your strength and, above all, trust that what really belongs to you will find its way to you at the right time. You deserve the best. Never settle for less. In the end, it all comes down to a simple but powerful truth: true love cannot be forced, only cultivated. When you learn to trust the natural flow of things, to strengthen yourself internally and to understand that what is genuine will never have to be pursued, something inside you changes. And that change does not go unnoticed. It transforms the way people see you, the way you relate to others and, above all, the way you attract what you really deserve. So the big question is, are you ready to stop insisting on what doesn't value you and finally become the woman who inspires, who attracts, and who is unforgettable, not because she tries to be, but because she simply is? If the answer is yes, start now. Direct your energy to what really matters, yourself. Because when you become your priority, the rest comes naturally. And if you liked this video and want to continue receiving content that will transform the way you see relationships and life, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss any of the upcoming videos. And of course, if this content resonated with you, leave a like and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. See you in the next video.